said we were going to talk about communication.
Yeah.
What is it you want to say about that?
Well, I think we wanted to talk about communication as a function of how we communicate, and you know, because even yesterday I was noticing how there's certain ways that we've learned to communicate that really work. And
Like what?
Well, so, I don't know if you remember yesterday, there was a point in time where you came and you started talking to me, and I basically just like unfolded on you, like, you were talking about our child, and it's like, yeah, but what about this and this and that and that and that? And I noticed I was a little riled up, right? But I noticed that you were just like, you just calmed and you just let me talk. And even as I was done, you were like, is there something else? But and not in a like, you got something else to say, like not in a fighting kind of way. Really, just as a, you saw that I needed to say what I needed to say before any conversation could continue, basically at that moment in time, and you just let me talk.
I don't even remember.
You don't remember? Yeah, it's just so natural, right? Because we. But I remember I remembered noticing you stopping, and and then we got to analyze what you said and what I said, and move the conversation forward, right? So that ability to just listen,
yeah,
without bringing forth, and I'm talking about you in this case, but bringing forth like maybe your own reaction or your own thoughts about what I said, right? Because what I said was my point of view, my experience. It could be valid, it could be invalid, right? I could be completely wrong, I could be completely right. But just like that, so it's an example of something that I noticed it right away when you were doing it.
That's interesting. I it's like water to the fish a little bit. I mean, I'm glad you had that experience, but I don't recall when that happened at all. I do, however, remember, and I shared this with you, that when our older son came to me and complained, they were fighting, him and Marko were fighting, so our two children were fighting. There's like 3 years difference between them, and they're bickering at each other like quite often, and they were fighting, and then Adrian was saying whatever he was saying, and it wasn't even I wasn't even trying to listen well at first. I was actually shocked by what he was saying, so I think part of it was just me trying to figure out like, what is he saying? Is like I was just noticing that, I guess. And he expressed whatever he expressed, and then his brother came. Then I asked his brother, is this true? And his brother was like, yeah, it's true.
Right.
And I just watched them. Basically, like, they just talked about what happened years ago. The first time I think Marko hit Adrian not by accident, intentionally, I guess. Adrian got to forgive him. Marko got to own up to it. Like, I just watched it.
And and they were talking about something that happened years ago.
That it happened years ago, and it was I felt useless as well, right? Like, as a mom, I felt like, wow, like, Jesus, like, how many times like things can get resolved if I just don't add myself to it. So I love that you're sharing that, because I think it's really powerful to listen like that, and it's easy to listen like that when you're on a call with a client, but it's kind of hard when you're in life and things are happening, and
you might be trying to rush, or you don't like this happens to me often with our older one. Like, I don't like what comes out of his mouth, and I don't mean like he's saying something wrong. I just don't like the subject or how he's seeing something.
Or you think there's a consequence to what he's saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to teach him in the moment, right? Trying to direct him in a particular direction with his thoughts or with his speaking, and in doing that, all that happens is he gets upset, right?
Yeah.
Because we end up, I guess, butting heads, as one would say.
Yeah.
I'm just getting present to that. It's almost like the power of silence, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, just to add to it, and mostly actually to clear it out of the way because I'm thinking about it and I won't be able to listen to you while that's ongoing on my mind. But I just led the listening part for the Creating Your Life as a Masterpiece program. So I led the listening segment, and I led it twice essentially, just not to go
Yes.
into details of why I did that, but I led it twice.
Yeah.
And then I was speaking to a client and then reminded her, and I went to the PowerPoint and led it again. So, that notion that when you say X, I hear X, but I listen Y.
Yeah.
So there's something that happens between I heard what you said, but something happened inside of me that turned whatever you said into something else.
Right.
So that's the filter that we all listen the conversations through. So I know with kids, I know for me that's the case, and I wonder if it's the case for you and Adrian as well, or for how you listen to him, is I'm often going through this commentary of like, but I have to parent, but I have to do this, but I have to lead him, I have to teach him, I have to.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I'm realizing this more and more. When I do this, I'm actually not listening to him. Because the way he starts talking, it's really confronting for me. Like when he starts speaking, he sounds arrogant. I mean, there's all these things that I have as judgment. I don't even want to say them on camera, but because he listens to these things too. But what I'm trying to say, yeah, I'm not worried actually. I'm worried because he likes listening to our videos. So, hi Adrian, if you're watching. But what I'm trying to say, okay, so I'm going to say it anyway, right? Like for the sake of transparency, God bless me. Oh gosh, I'm really worried now. The point I'm trying to say is that when he says something, at first, I totally hear something else. I totally listen to something else. Because right away I'm on high alert and judging and assessing what he's saying. And every once in a while, when I just lean back and let him speak, and he talks and talks and talks, eventually I get the commitment behind what he's saying, and I go like, wow, that's so kind.
Yeah.
So it's like really, it's scary how we listen as human beings, like how quickly we jump into conclusions. And I think you and I, when we first met, we were both leaders and we were trained in listening. And I think that kind of gave us a little grace at the beginning. And then we became utterly human with one another and threw all the training out of the window, but then came back to the training somehow, almost full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so great. I can see it even for myself, about Adrian, how like my filter is he shouldn't. Like you shouldn't be that way, you shouldn't think that. It's like it's like he shouldn't, And you're right about like when I do let him speak, it's like layers, right? Like you take out the first layer and then the second layer and then he gets to a place and then it's like there's just total beauty, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, but like you're talking about how he bickers with his brother, and then at the end of it will be like, yeah, but I'm thinking about this and his birthday about his brother, right? For example, right? And it's, like really, like it almost seems like a shock that that's even there for him to think about, given how the rest of the time, but.
Yeah, I think we impose so much. We impose so much of our own thing, and I also think, there are things that trigger us, that trigger our ego,
of course. And
those are the things that, like if you say something and it triggers an aspect of my ego, or, very often with you in the past, because I'm a figure it out person, like if you're speaking of a problem, like I got no time to listen to it, I have to solve it. But it's something I had to undo, and I think in a lot of ways, like I've done a great job of, like not to pat myself on the back.
You did a great job. Great job.
But I really, but here's the truth. Like I see how far how far I've gone from inability to listen like I remember even as a coach, like the first clients I ever had, like the moment they say a problem, like I jumped right in, like I couldn't wait until they finish the whole sentence. I already have a solution, and like I can now allow myself to feel useless because I don't jump in, so it feels like I'm not even doing anything. And that's the thing, you see, concerned with myself, like I'm not doing anything. And that gets in a way of like me wanting to be useful somehow. But the point, I think, the truth with people, with most people anyway, is that if you let them speak, and if all you do is like shine a mirror to what they're saying and you just listen actively, they'll sort themselves out. People are smart. They'll tap into their own intelligence. They're experts in their own lives, and sometimes they just need somebody to not judge, not add, but rather take away. And so they sort themselves out, and I think kids do too. Now, what I find challenging there is like, okay, but when do you parent? Like, how do you parent in that whole thing? But like I think access to communication is listening. I guess the point of this talk, not the, Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think it's great.
Keep this short and sweet.
No, I think this was good. It's really, I can see new access. Talk about Adrian, right? I can see new access and how I listen to him, and I expect because of how I listen, he's gonna say different things. He's gonna act differently. So I'm gonna try that out.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Really awesome.
Yeah. This was good. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please keep us posted about what you may need or want to hear from us, or the topics that you want us to cover. I mean, we'll say what we know to say, obviously, because of, we are who we are, right?
Exactly.
But if there's a topic you'd like us to cover and it's relevant to us, we'll share about it. Bye.
See you next week.